on the nose. But I would think if I'm Eichel, I play a more prominent position. I think he's a better player, and he's been there longer, and he helped them win a Stanley Cup. So he's probably like, all right, I'll take 13. Like, it shouldn't be that complicated. If Marner's making 12, I'll take 12.5 or 13. But that maybe it is complicated, because maybe Eichel's looking at it saying, well, Draisaitl signed for 14 a year ago, and now the cap's going up. I want 14, and then that's when it gets a little bit dicey all of a sudden, because Vegas, has been a team that's been very cap compliant. They've been very active. They've brought in a lot of different players. They've been probably the most proactive team in hockey, maybe in pro sports, period, the last decade. But if you lock in Eichel at $13 million, $14 million, and you got Marner at 12, like, those are two big commitments all of a sudden. Those are two guys making a lot of money.
You guys ever wish that there was more player movement in the NHL?
Sure. I mean, for the nature of our business, it's always way more compelling when you get, crazy trades and more movement. But it's on the players in order to push for that.
But so how would that work? Like, shorter contracts, is that like the only way? Like, if you're the NHL and you were like, we want to have more intrigue around our league, we want players to move around more, we don't want players just staying with one team their whole career.
I don't think that. I think the way around it is get rid of no movement clauses. Get rid of no trade clauses.
I agree.
That's what stops trades.
Yeah, I guess that's
teams would trade players in a heartbeat. It's players don't allow it, because I think the nature of our conversation is proving even if you can only sign a 3-year deal, players will just keep re-upping if they like where they are, right? Like the players that get comfortable somewhere, like Sidney Crosby would have signed 21-year deals in Pittsburgh, right? He doesn't need an 8-year deal or a 7-year deal. I don't think the term matters. It's on the players' mentality that they'd want to do it, and I'm not sure they do collectively as hockey players. It's get rid of no trade clauses. Get rid of no movement clauses. You do that, like if that, put it this way, what we just saw, if they didn't exist, Mikko Rantanen's a Maple Leaf, more than likely, right? Mitch Marner's in Carolina down the stretch last year. There's a blockbuster deal, but no movement clauses exist, and the player to his right executed his. That's the way to get movement going in the league, but I don't even think Lloyd Howell Jr. would accept that. Strutty giving up those, man.
No.
The PA's
even
not
at his
doing
best,
it.
when he's really rolling his bars, even he wouldn't go for that. I guess the other thing this is pretty crazy, but you negotiate a buyout with your player, and then that money is not on the books. So I make $10 million. I want to buy. Okay, you want to buy me out? Give me $8. Okay, done. Now that money is buried. And then the guy just goes to free agent, and that there's no, doesn't sit on your salary cap for years to come. You don't multiply it by 2 or whatever it is. So that would be pretty dramatic. The rich teams would love that.
Yes, well, and that's why it'll never happen, because Bettman will always think about the lowest common denominator, and the smaller market teams and the owners will say that's not fair. We can't buy those people out, and owners don't want to spend more money than they have to. I like that idea. And it does give you flashbacks, like to remember, like coming out of the lockouts, how cool it was when each team had 2 buyouts, and there were all these debates, like who are they going to use it on? You got to buy that guy out, and like it's so impersonal. Like if you're the player and you're listening to
it's hurtful
bozos like us, be like, you got to use it on Jonas. You have to buy that stiff out. He stinks. He's not worth the price. Like you're just like, I'm trying to get back in the league. We just voted on the CBA, and I'm getting bought out. What's happening here? But I like the buyout world. I like that world.
It is crazy. That'd be a crazy situation. But I keep going back to when the Leafs asked Marner about moving his no-trade clause for Rantanen. And I wonder if that wasn't kind of the last nail in the coffin. Because that's hurtful. You've worked so hard for this one team you're drafted by, and then, like, we'd like you, but we like this guy a little bit better over here. And maybe by then they felt they weren't able to sign him. I don't know. But Jonas, I don't think that helped that whole situation. It wouldn't help in any situation.
We have no way of knowing, like, if it would have changed history. I agree with you. Like, I don't know what it was. Like, he was never going to say yes. Like, there was no way. So, like, why risk it? Like, if it like hurts you by like 5%, but maybe they just knew like he was gone already. I don't know.
I think it's more likely that's the case, man. This guy was going to Vegas. They knew it. He knew it.
But you had all the reporting at the time, Hayes, that they were still trying to sign him. And,
Yes.
like, he just wasn't playing ball.
Wasn't even answering them.
So it's
like,
I don't know.
I don't sympathize for him at all in that scenario. Like, how dare you ask me? You know, like they've been trying to negotiate.
No, but what's to be gained by it? Like, what do you think is going to happen?
Maybe once in a million chance he goes, fine, I'll go to Carolina. I want out of here, and you get Rantanen. You know, like it's worth for a trade of depth, probably not worth it. For a guy like Rantanen, where you could basically fulfill one superstar with another.
Yeah, fair.
I don't know. I guess in the end, like in retrospect, put it this way: let's say it played out the exact same way. But they never asked him. And then it gets reported on July 18th. Turns out Rantanen wanted to come here, but they didn't even ask because they didn't want to make Marner uncomfortable. Don't you think you look back on that and say, what are you doing? Why didn't you ask him?
I look back at last summer and think that. Like,
exactly.
Why
not continue that at the trade deadline? Why would it stop at the trade deadline?
Yeah.
It's worth a shot. I mean, ultimately, he had the right to say no, which he did. I totally understood why he said no. But and maybe it didn't help slightly strut, but it sure seems like this guy had property in Vegas like this time last year. Was basically ready to go, and Vegas was always the spot. Like, that's another thing. He never hit the market. He was going to Vegas.
Fair.
That's where he was going. It wasn't free agency. It wasn't, I'm going to see what everyone's got. It was Vegas. Clearly, that's where he was going to go.
So he and his agent must have talked about it at some point, right?
Yeah.
Before it said this. I'm going to make a list, and this is my top team. And same with Rantanen. Like, I always think with Rantanen, I get he didn't want to sign in Carolina, but was Dallas his number one choice? Like, was that his spot for sure? Or was that on his top three? And if you're not sure, why don't you just wait till the summer? You can still sign it later. Now, maybe they had to make that trade for Dallas to make it, but you're that level of player. Everybody wants you. Everybody wants you. Committed for 8 years. Like, you can't wait 3 more months to look at it. I guess they're throwing $100 million at you, Jonas. It changes it a bit, but
like, can you imagine what the Leafs would have paid for Rantanen if he hit July 1?
Well,
giving him whatever he wanted.
Yeah,
blank
possibly.
check. But I'm looking from the player's side. Like, you can go anywhere you want, and why not just go check it out? Go look around. Even informal visits to these different cities. Like, I don't know. It's different for a guy signing a 2 or 3 year contract as opposed to 8 times whatever amount of money it is. Like, I never understood that. Like, was that really Mikko's number one place, Dallas? And it's not saying it's a bad place. But
Pretty good
a lot
place.
of other teams have taken him.
Good team.
Yeah. Well, they're pretty competitive every year.
Fair point.
Draft and develop really well.
Although new coach Hayes already. Like, maybe you love Peter DeBoer. Maybe he's like, I want to play for Pete, and all of a sudden 3 months later, DeBoer's out.
Like, meet our new coach.
Yeah, here's Glenn going.
Here's Glenn.
It's like, oh, okay. Well, all right, Glenn, I guess we're working together for the next 8 years.
And that'll be interesting. See how that goes.
That would
for
be really
Glenn,
interesting.
right? Because he's been there before, and he learned a lot, probably a lot here, dealing with a lot of superstars. I'm looking forward to what that process looks like. In Dallas with him at the helm.
Conference final every year down in Dallas, right? Like every year they seem to get there. And now you got a new coach and a couple of new players and a couple of old players out. All right, Steve Phillips in 20 minutes on Jays Giants tonight. We got Verlander on the mound for the Giants, Chris Bassett on the mound for the Jays. What can we expect out of Vladdy, Bo? How big of a moment is this for Ross Atkins over the next couple of weeks? Lots to get into with Steve. We'll catch up with Mark Masters a little bit later this afternoon. Bob Weeks on day 2 over at the Open Championship, where Scotty Scheffler has a solo lead, 10 under solo lead after day 2. Dear Hazy B coming up in a couple of hours. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.